So why exactly does a man start grave robbing women's bodies who look like his dead mother to make female skin suits in order to become his mother? Here's a deeper analysis into Ed Gein's mind. By the time Ed Gein was caught by police, he was two different people, completely split. One side was Ed, and one side was Mother. The Ed version of Gein's personality, who most people knew, was a meek, quiet, unassuming man who did odd jobs around town and kept to himself. The Mother half of Ed's mind, however, was clingy, demanding, shaming, and overbearing. The number one way people control others, family members, partners, even entire cultures, is through shame. Through shaming individuals for expressing core truths without inhibition, for exposing vulnerabilities. People also use shame to attack individuals for supposed inadequacies and for bad or sinful behavior. Shaming crushes confidence and stifles self-expression and growth. And Ed Gein's mother had this shaming mind control down in spades. Ed and his mother Augusta had become completely psychologically enmeshed, as if no one else in the world existed. And once Augusta was paralyzed from her stroke, Ed had her all to himself. Yet the dominant role had switched. This role swap further entangled and confused who was who in Ed's brain. Then Augusta died, abandoning him in a fragile state, and he simply unraveled. After she was buried, he dug up her body and stole her head. Why only her head? Likely because her head represented the part of her that maintained the vice grip hold over him. She was so deeply embedded into his psyche. Stealing her head was a symbolic confession that he had lost his own. He was attempting to reclaim his mind by physically reclaiming his mother's head. Now he owned her head just as she owned his. At times he would just be Ed. At other times he would be his mother. And sometimes he would be both people at once, carrying on conversations that would have taken place had she still been alive. A likely diagnosis for Ed Gein, in addition to the schizophrenia, would have been dissociative identity disorder, a mental health condition where an individual has two or more separate identities. Each identity has its own personal history, traits, likes and dislikes, and can lead to hallucinations and gaps in memory during these personality switches. Eventually, the inner exchanges between Ed and his mother did not feel like enough. He needed to be closer to her, to feel even more like her. So he scoured obituaries for recently deceased women who looked like his mother and grave robbed them in order to make female skin suits. He wore the skin to keep alive the delusion that his mother was still alive. He would dress up as his mother in these skin suits, talk in her voice, sit in her chair, and carry on with her mannerisms. But even this behavior eventually felt limiting, and that's when he decided to go after the living. Both Mary Hogan and Bernice Worden physically resembled his mother and embodied strength and independence as she once did. Both women were strung up like animals, decapitated, disemboweled, and skinned. Bernice Worden was in the process of being skinned when police finally made the grisly discoveries. Few boundaries existed between Ed and his mother. Augusta controlled every aspect of her son by incessantly shaming any behaviors or thoughts outside of her approval. Toxic shame caused Ed to fear his own shadow, any part of himself that wasn't his mother. There's a flip side to every psychological coin, however, and unfortunately this extreme repression led to murder, an internal revolt of sorts against the relentless puritanical shaming. To psychologically balance things, Ed's internal pendulum swung in the opposite direction, finally externalizing all of the repressed darkness, aggression, and fury that he had successfully squashed while Augusta was still alive.